Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Julen Larrucea, and today I'm going to talk to you again about BOMSI, the Bash OpenStack Multinode scripted installer. And at the time I wrote the title for this talk, the code was still quite buggy, so I came up with this. But I must admit that at this time, I managed to fix pretty much most of the bugs. So I guess the first bug is already right in the title. Well, but let me tell you a story. Think that you want to learn about OpenStack, but you want to do it in the right way. So you go through the install guides, and you try to install every component by hand by following the commands, by typing the commands one by one. But most likely, you will end up with a storm of errors and a broken installation. Maybe you are too shy to ask to the community, and you think it would be really cool to have a working system to compare to. So you can use an OpenStack installer. But the usual OpenStack installers are based on scalability. Everybody's talking about the scalability, because basically that's what OpenStack is about. And look at this picture. It's a castell. It's very typical for celebrations here in Catalonia, a human castle. And both castles and scalability are based on the same principle, the bottom-up. This means that we have to establish a solid basis in order to grow up. So what about the small scale? Well, we can think about some installers like DevStack or PackStack. But maybe there is something even better. What about an executable version of the install guides? This will produce exactly the same output we are trying to achieve, and we can compare directly. I know of two installers which can produce this. First of all is Training Labs. It's an official OpenStack project which installs the system by SSH, either in KVM or VirtualBox. It's cross-platform, including Linux, Windows, and Mac. It has tons of features, basically most of the components of OpenStack. It is very well maintained. Honestly, you just try it and it works. And if it does not work, well, you make a bug report and it will get taken care of really quick. The only downside is that the code is, in order to have so many features, the code is a little bit complex. There are there are a lot of variables and a lot of lines of code. And if you want to learn more about this project, you can visit the website or attend the panel discussion on Thursday afternoon. And the second option is, of course, BOMSI. Once again, the Bash OpenStack Multinode scripted installer. BOMSI generates self-installing multi-boot ISO files. And that means that we can provision bare metal. It is mainly based on Ubuntu. I try to make it work also in CentOS and Fedora and SUSE, but it's still not working 100%. It is really fast, so you can get the whole OpenStack up and running in about 12 minutes in an i7 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And it also has a minimalistic code, so it's easy to read. Well, and as I promised in the title, here are some unique features of BOMSI. First of all, you have one ISO for everything. So you have an ISO which can install every node of your OpenStack, and you can use it for virtual machines or for bare metal. It also has a basic graphical user interface which allows an installation on a single click. You can install the whole system just on one click. And there are a lot of solutions, but I have not seen anything which allows you to install everything on a single click. You can also copy-paste the code directly into a terminal. And well, probably most of the developers can say that, yeah, you can always copy-paste the code into a terminal. But the question is, how many variables and libraries do you have to load before doing that? Here, there is just one file. And did I already mention that it is minimalistic? But well, how minimalistic can it be? What about this? This is the whole source code of the main driver of BOMSI. It has basically just 6 steps. First of all, we parse command line arguments. Then we detect the operating system and we resolve dependencies. Then we load the variables which were not already loaded from the command line arguments. Then we check for the original ISO file from Ubuntu, and we also check the integrity with the checksums. And here is the important step. Here is where we generate the ISO file. This extracts the original Ubuntu file, recompiles it, and recompiles it again by setting a custom boot menu and the kickstart files with the corresponding scripts in order to install everything. And afterwards, once having the ISO file, we can either generate a self-installing pen drive, or we can create a virtual environment. And let's take a look to this last function. As the name says, it is a bash OpenStack multinode scripted installer, so it is just bash code. There are some functions, and it's just basic bash code. Here, for example, we just execute brsh to define a network. And well, I do this trick with the eval at the beginning and this silencer variable at the end to control the verbosity of the output. And here is another function which just sets a couple of variables and then calls virt install with the right parameters. But the trick for installing OpenStack is in the kickstart file. The kickstart file is a normal kickstart file which contains variables. These variables are going to be parsed by the gen ISO file. And then it has, in the post section, it will install an initd script which will execute this BOMSI install script. And in this script is going to be the same for all the machines except for the post script variable, which will set special parameters for every machine. And BOMSI also comes with some useful tools. For example, have you ever thought how painful it is to compare configuration files? Because they are so long and they have so many comments and sections. So here you can just compare two local or remote configuration files, and it will show you graphically which are the differences in both of them. Here is an example. I am comparing the configuration file of etc nova novaconf for the controller and the compute node. And if we take a look at it, oh, look at this. There is a typo. So maybe that was the source of our error. So if you want to try it, you can just clone the GitHub repository. Then just change the directory to the BOMSI Ubuntu Newton. And well, there is already a Newton update. And then just execute the installer. For executing the installer, you can just run it without parameters. This will just produce an ISO file. If you specify -n, this will set a name for the ISO file and also a name for a virtual machine. So it will also launch a virtual machine with this name. You can put anything which contains the strings controller, compute1, compute2, or also packages and clean. Packages will install a machine and download all the required packages. And clean just installs a clean Ubuntu machine. And optionally, you can also customize the passwords and IPs in the lib t bars. T is for target machines. That's pretty much it. So if you want to take a look to the lib folder, everything should be kind of self-explaining and quite minimalistic, as I said. And before going, I want to thank the Fraunhofer IFAM in Bremen because they paid for my trip to here. Also my co-workers in the IT team of the Fraunhofer in Bremen. And of course, my teammates from Training Labs, Pranav and Royer. And here's my contact information. Thank you very much for hearing.